Clara Whitmore's scream tore through the frozen Montana dawn. She stood in the empty barn, her husband's goodbye note crumpled in her fist, staring at the nothing where everything used to be. Horse gone. Wagon gone. Food money, hope gone. 5 children slept inside, trusting her to keep them alive. Robert had left them to die, and winter was just beginning. Subscribe now and stay until the end. Comment your city below. I want to see how far this story travels. Clara's knees hit the frozen dirt. The scream had scraped her throat raw, but she barely felt it. Barely felt anything except the paper cutting into her palm where she'd crushed Robert's letter into a ball. I took what I needed. You're smart. You'll figure something out. She opened her hand. Read it again. Read it a third time, waiting for the words to change, waiting to wake up from this nightmare. They didn't change. You coward! Her voice came out broken, barely human. You goddamn coward! The empty barn swallowed her words. No horse nickered in response. No wagon sat in its usual spot. The hooks where the salt pork had hung were bare. The storage bins gaped open like hungry mouths. Everything. He'd taken everything. Clara forced herself to stand. Her legs shook so bad she had to grab the stall door to stay upright. Think. She had to think. Panic was a luxury she couldn't afford. Food. What food was left? She tore through the barn like a woman possessed. Nothing. Check the root cellar. 4 soft potatoes, half of them rotten. Check the cabin's pantry. A handful of cornmeal at the bottom of a jar. Some dried beans may be enough for 2 meals. The money box under the floorboards. Clara's fingers went numb as she pried up the loose board. Please, please let him have missed it. Please let there be something empty. She sat back on her heels and laughed. It came out high and wild, the sound of someone losing their grip on sanity. Mama? Clara spun around. Grace stood in the doorway, 11 years old, and already wearing the face of someone who'd seen too much. Her brown hair was tangled from sleep. Her feet were bare on the frozen floor. Mama, what's wrong? I heard you scream. Behind Grace, the other children crowded together. Henry trying to look brave at 8. The twins Emma and Lucy clutching each other, their identical faces pale with fear. Little William with his thumb in his mouth, not understanding why everyone was scared, but scared anyway. 5 children. 5 mouths to feed, and nothing to feed them with. Inside. Clara's voice came out steadier than she felt. Everyone inside. Now. But where's Papa? Where's Biscuit? The wagons? Now Grace. Something in her tone killed the questions. The children retreated into the cabin, and Clara followed her bare feet burning against the frozen ground. She built up the fire until it roared. The children huddled on the bed, watching her with eyes that expected answers. Clara didn't have answers. She had a crumpled letter and a death sentence. Mama! Grace's voice cut through the silence. Tell us. Clara turned from the fire. No point in pretty lies. These children had survived 3 failed homesteads, a drunk father, and 1,000 broken promises. They could survive the truth. Your papa's gone. He left before dawn. Took the horse, the wagon, our food, and our money. She held up the letter. He ain't coming back. Silence. Then Henry's face crumpled. But he said he promised he'd teach me to ride. He lied. The twins started crying, their sobs perfectly synchronized the way everything about them was synchronized. William just stared, his thumb falling from his mouth. Mama, I'm hungry, he said. Clara's heart cracked clean down the middle. I know, baby. When's breakfast? Soon. Another lie. She was getting good at them. Grace hadn't moved, hadn't cried. She sat rigid on the edge of the bed, her hands balled into fists, her jaw tight enough to shatter. This is your fault. The words hit Clara like a slap. What did you say? You heard me. Grace stood up, her small body vibrating with fury. You drove him away, always nagging, always complaining, always making him feel like he wasn't good enough. No wonder he left. I'd leave too, if I had to listen to you every... That's enough. It's true. Grace's voice broke the anger cracking to reveal the terror underneath. You ruined everything. You always ruin everything, and now we're gonna die, and it's your fault." Clara crossed the room in 3 steps and grabbed her daughter's shoulders. Grace flinched, expecting a slap. Clara pulled her into a hug instead. "Let me go." "No." "I hate you. I hate you." "I know." Grace fought for another moment, then collapsed against her mother's chest, sobbing like the child she still was underneath all that armor. "I don't want to die, Mama. I don't want to die." "You ain't gonna die." Clara held her tighter. "None of you are. I won't allow it." "How?" Grace's voice was muffled against Clara's shoulder. "How are you gonna stop it?" Clara didn't have an answer, but she'd find one. She'd claw one out of the frozen earth with her bare hands if she had to. "You let me worry about that. Right now I need you to be strong for your brothers and sisters. Can you do that?" Grace pulled back, wiping her eyes with her sleeve. "I reckon I can try." "That's my girl." Mon. The first day was survivable. Clara rationed the cornmeal into thin gruel, barely enough to coat the bottom of each bowl. The children ate without complaint. They knew better than to complain. Henry appointed himself guardian of the woodpile. "I counted the logs, Mama. We got maybe 4 days' worth if we keep the fire low at night." "Good thinking." "I can chop more. Papa showed me how." "The axe is gone, Henry." His face fell. 8 years old and trying so hard to fill shoes that were never meant to be his. "I could break branches," he offered. "Find deadfall in the woods." "Maybe tomorrow. Stay inside today." Emma and Lucy sat in the corner playing some silent game only twins understood. Lucy coughed once, twice. Clara's stomach tightened. "Lucy, baby, come here." Lucy crossed the room, and Clara pressed her palm to the girl's forehead. Warm. Not hot yet, but warm. "Does your throat hurt?" "A little." "Chest." "It's tight, like something's sitting on it." Clara kept her face calm. Inside panic clawed at her ribs. "You rest today. Stay by the fire." "But Emma and I were gonna—" "Rest." Lucy's lower lip trembled, but she obeyed. Emma immediately curled up beside her twin, their bodies fitting together like 2 halves of the same whole. William tugged at Clara's skirt. "Mama, when's Papa coming home?" "He ain't, sweetheart." "But who's gonna read me stories?" "I will." "You don't do the voices right." Clara laughed, despite everything. It came out watery and broken, but it was a laugh. "I'll learn." The second day the storm hit. Clara woke to a sound like a locomotive bearing down on the cabin. Wind. Wind so fierce it rattled the walls and sent snow streaming through every crack in the chinked logs. "Everyone stay in bed. Don't move unless I say." She fed the fire until it roared, burning through their precious wood supply twice as fast as she'd planned. No choice. If the fire died, they died. Lucy's cough had worsened overnight. Now it came in wet, rattling bursts that shook her whole body. Emma held her twin's hand and wouldn't let go. "Mama, she's burning up." Clara touched Lucy's forehead and felt her heart stop. Fever. Real fever, the kind that killed children on the frontier every winter. "I need more blankets." Henry checked the chest. "That's all we got, Mama." "Then give me your coat." "But, now." Henry stripped off his coat without another word. Clara layered it over Lucy, then added her own shawl, her own blanket, everything she could find. Cold. Lucy's teeth chattered. "Mama, I'm so cold." "I know, baby, I know." "Is it gonna hurt?" "Dying?" Clara's vision blurred. She blinked hard, forcing the tears back. "You ain't dying. Sarah May died. Remember, she got sick and then she just—" "You ain't Sarah May. You're Lucy Whitmore, and you're too stubborn to die." Lucy managed a weak smile. "Emma's the stubborn one. You both are. You get it from me." The storm raged for 2 days. Clara slept in snatches, jerking awake every time Lucy's breathing changed. She rationed the last of the cornmeal, the last of the beans, gave her own portions to the children, and told them she'd already eaten. Grace noticed. "Mama, you ain't touched food in 2 days." "I'm fine." "You're lying." "Watch your tone." "I ain't a child." Grace's eyes were too old, too knowing. "I can count portions same as you. You're starving yourself to feed us." Clara didn't deny it. Couldn't deny it. "Your brothers and sisters need it more. They need their mama alive." Grace thrust a piece of hardtack toward her, their last one. "Eat, or I'll tell Henry to sit on you while I force it down your throat." Despite everything, Clara smiled. "You're a bossy little thing, you know that. I learned from the best." Clara ate the hardtack. It tasted like sawdust and salvation. The third morning the storm broke. Clara woke to silence so complete it felt like death. Then she realized the wind had stopped. She eased out of bed, her joints screaming in protest. 3 days of sleeping on the floor, barely eating, barely breathing. She felt 100 years old. Lucy was still alive. Still fevered, but alive. Small mercies. Clara crept to the window and looked out. White. Everything was white. The snow piled so high it reached halfway up the walls. The world had been erased. "Mama," Henry's whisper came from behind her. "We're trapped, ain't we? We can dig out." "To where? We ain't got a horse. Ain't got a wagon. Town's 15 miles away." "I know." "Lucy's getting worse. I can hear it in her breathing." Clara closed her eyes. 15 miles through hip-deep snow with a fevered child. It might as well have been 1,500. "I'm gonna check the traps." "What traps?" "The ones I set last month. In the woods past the creek." "Mama, you can't go out there. You'll freeze." "If I don't go, we starve." Clara turned to face her son. "I need you to watch your sisters. Keep the fire going. Take care of Lucy." "But, Henry." She gripped his shoulders, forcing him to meet her eyes. "You're the man of the house now. I need you to act like it." Something shifted in Henry's face. The boy retreated, and something harder took his place. "Yes, ma'am." Yet, the cold hit Clara like a wall. She'd wrapped herself in every scrap of cloth she could find, scarves around her face, rags stuffed in her boots, her dead mother's shawl layered over everything. It wasn't enough. Within minutes, the cold had found every gap, every weakness. The snow was waist-deep in places. Each step was a battle. Her legs burned, then went numb, then burned again. The first trap was half a mile away. It took her an hour to reach it. Empty. Clara stared at the sprung mechanism, the undisturbed snow around it. Nothing. Not even a track. She trudged to the second trap. Empty. The third. Empty. By the fourth trap, her hands had stopped working properly. She couldn't feel her fingers, couldn't make them close around the mechanism to check if it had been triggered. Empty. All of them empty. Clara dropped to her knees in the snow. This was it. This was how it ended. Not with a bang, not with a fight, but with a woman kneeling alone in the wilderness while her children slowly starved. "Please." The word scraped out of her frozen throat. "Please, I'll do anything. Take me if you have to. Just don't let them die. Please, please." Nothing answered. Nothing but the wind and the silence and the vast indifferent white. Clara bowed her head and let the tears come. They froze on her cheeks before they could fall. So this is how it feels, she thought. This is how it feels to give up. Then she heard the horses. Clara's head snapped up. 2 riders coming from the west. Dark shapes against the snow, moving slow but steady through the drifts. Her first instinct was fear. Strangers on the frontier meant danger. A woman alone was prey. But her second instinct was stronger. Strangers meant horses. Horses meant escape. She forced herself to stand. Her legs screamed in protest, but she made them hold her weight. If these men meant harm, she'd die on her feet. The riders drew closer. Two men bundled against the cold, their faces hidden behind scarves. They reined in about 20 feet away. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then one of them pulled down his scarf. He was maybe late 30s with a weathered face and gray eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. A scar ran along his jaw, faded white against tanned skin. He looked like a man who'd seen hard things and survived them. "Ma'am." His voice was low, steady. "You all right out there?" Clara opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Her lips were too frozen, her throat too raw. "Jed." The gray-eyed man turned to his companion. "Canteen." The second rider dismounted, older, with dark skin and silver threading through black hair. He approached slowly, hands visible the way you'd approach a wounded animal. "Drink." He held out a canteen, steam rising from the top. "Slow now." Clara's hands shook so bad she nearly dropped it. The water was warm, almost hot. It burned going down, but it was the best thing she'd ever tasted. "That's enough." The dark-skinned man, Jed, took the canteen back gently. "Don't want to shock your system." The gray-eyed man had dismounted too. He stood at a respectful distance studying her. "Those your traps?" Clara nodded. "They're set wrong. Trigger's too tight and you got 'em in the wrong spots. Rabbits don't run that high up the ridge." "I know." Her voice came out as a croak. "My husband was supposed to... He was supposed to..." She stopped, swallowed hard. "He was supposed to teach me proper. Never got around to it." Something shifted in the man's expression. "Where's your husband now, ma'am?" "Gone." The word tasted like poison. "Took off 3 days ago. Left me and 5 children with nothing but a goodbye note and empty cupboards." The gray-eyed man went very still. "He left you out here in winter with 5 children." "Yes, sir." "Christ almighty." The curse came out low and vicious. "What kind of man—" He stopped himself, took a breath. "I'm Samuel Beckett. Most folks call me Sam. This here's Jed Crow, my foreman. We own the Broken Arrow Ranch about 5 miles west." Clara studied him, waited for the catch. There was always a catch. "Why are you out here?" "Checking trap lines. Making sure nobody's freezing to death." His mouth twisted. "Guess we found somebody." "I don't need charity." "Good thing I ain't offering any." Sam's eyes held hers steady and unblinking. "Ma'am, I'm going to ask you a question, and I need you to answer honest. Can you do that?" Clara nodded. "What do you need?" The question broke something inside her. All the walls she'd built, all the pride she'd clung to it, crumbled. "Everything." Her voice cracked. "Food. Medicine. My daughter Lucy's burning with fever. I need to get her somewhere warm, somewhere safe, and I got no way to do it. I need—" She stopped, her throat closing. "I need a miracle, Mr. Beckett, and I ain't the praying type." Sam was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded once, a decisive gesture that seemed to settle something. "All right, let's go get your children." Clara rode behind Sam on his horse, her arms wrapped around his waist, too frozen and exhausted to care about propriety. Jed rode ahead, breaking trail. They covered the half-mile to the cabin in 20 minutes. On foot, it had taken Clara an hour. When the homestead came into view, Grace burst out the door before they'd even stopped. "Mama!" Then Clara was on the ground somehow, her children surrounding her small arms everywhere, voices overlapping in a chorus of relief and terror. "We thought you died. The storm came back and Lucy won't wake up proper. I tried to keep the fire going, but I'm here." Clara held them as tight as her frozen arms would allow. "I'm here. I ain't leaving again." Grace pulled back first, her eyes finding Sam over Clara's shoulder. The relief on her face curdled into suspicion. "Who's he?" "Mr. Samuel Beckett. He and his foreman found me by the traps." "What do they want?" Sam dismounted and removed his hat. "Just to help Miss. Nothing more." Grace positioned herself between Sam and her siblings, her thin body rigid with protective fury. Men always want something. Papa taught me that. Your papa was right. Sam's voice was calm, unoffended. Most men do want something. What I want is to make sure you and your family don't freeze to death. That's all. Prove it. Grace. Clara's voice was sharp. Mind your manners. No. Sam held up a hand. She's smart to be careful. Smarter than most grown folks I know. He crouched down, putting himself at Grace's eye level. Miss Grace, I give you my word I ain't gonna hurt your family. You got no reason to trust me yet, and I respect that. All I ask is a chance to earn it. Grace studied him the way a judge studies a defendant. And if you don't, then I'll leave and you'll never see me again. Fair enough. A long pause. Then Grace stepped aside. Lucy's inside. She's real sick. Show me. The cabin was warm, but thick with the smell of sickness. Lucy lay on the bed, her small body barely making a shape under the blankets. Her face was flushed, her breathing shallow and fast. Emma sat beside her, clutching her twin's hand like a lifeline. She won't wake up. Emma's voice was barely a whisper. I tried singing to her. She always wakes up when I sing. Jed moved to the bedside with quiet efficiency. How long she been fevered? 3 days, Clara said. Started as a cough, got worse in the storm. Jed pressed his palm to Lucy's forehead, then her chest. His expression didn't change, but something in his eyes made Clara's blood run cold. Lung fever. Seen it before in the camps. Can you help her? I can try. Jed was already pulling supplies from his saddlebag herbs, small bottles cloth for poultices. Gonna need hot water, clean rags, and somebody to hold her down. This medicine tastes like hell. Clara turned to Grace. Boil water. Henry, get the clean cloths from the chest. Emma, you stay right where you are. Don't let go of her hand. The cabin became a flurry of activity. Clara worked alongside Jed, following his terse instructions, trying not to think about what would happen if this didn't work. Sam stayed back, keeping William and Henry occupied by the fire. Clara caught snatches of his low voice. You like horses, son? Yes, sir. Papa was going to teach me to ride, but what kind you like? Draft horses, quarter horses? The fast ones, the ones that look like they're flying. Arabians, then. I got a few at my ranch. Maybe you could come see 'em sometime. Henry's face lit up for the first time in days. Clara turned back to Lucy and found Jed watching her. He's a good man, Jed said quietly. I know you got no reason to believe that, but it's true. He ain't what he looks like. What's he look like? Like a man running from something. Jed ground herbs between his palms, the smell sharp and medicinal. He's running towards something now. Took him 7 years, but he finally figured out the difference. Before Clara could ask what that meant, Lucy stirred. Hold her. Clara pressed her daughter's shoulders to the mattress. Jed tilted Lucy's head back and poured the bitter tea between her lips. Lucy gagged, coughed, tried to spit it out. I know, baby. Clara's voice broke. I know it's awful, but you gotta swallow, please. Burns? I know, but you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be just fine. Lucy's eyes rolled back. Her body went limp. Clara's heart stopped. She's resting. Jed's voice was calm. The hard part comes now. Fever's gonna spike before it breaks. Next few hours will tell us everything. And if it doesn't break, Jed didn't answer. The night stretched into eternity. Clara sat beside Lucy's bed, watching her daughter's chest rise and fall in ragged breaths. Emma had finally fallen asleep on the other side, her hand still wrapped around her twins. The other children slept in a pile by the fire, watched over by Sam. He'd refused to leave, refused to let Clara face this alone. She didn't have the strength to argue. Around midnight, Lucy's fever spiked. She thrashed in the bed, crying out for people who weren't there, seeing things that existed only in her fevered mind. Papa? Papa, don't go. Don't leave me. Clara held her down, tears streaming down her face. I'm here, baby. Mama's here. He left. He's gone and he ain't coming back and we're gonna die. You ain't gonna die. I won't let you. Promise? I promise. But it was a lie and they both knew it. Some things were beyond promises. Some things were beyond will. Sam appeared at Clara's shoulder. Let me. She's my daughter. And you're about to collapse. His voice was gentle but firm. You ain't no good to her dead on your feet. Rest, just for an hour. I'll watch her. You don't even know us. I know enough. His gray eyes held hers, and Clara saw something there she hadn't expected. Pain. Deep old pain, the kind that never really healed. I know what it's like to lose someone you can't save. I ain't gonna let that happen to you. Clara wanted to argue, wanted to insist she was fine, that she didn't need help, that she could do this alone. But she couldn't. Not anymore. 1 hour. That's all I ask. Clara moved to the chair by the fire, and sleep took her before she could fight it. She woke to sunlight. Clara sat up disoriented. The fire had burned low. The cabin was quiet. Too quiet. Lucy. She stumbled to the bed, her heart pounding, and found her daughter sitting up, pale but alert, sipping broth from a cup, while Emma chattered beside her. Mama. Lucy's voice was weak but clear. Mr. Jed made me drink something awful, but then I felt better. Can I have more broth? Clara fell to her knees beside the bed and burst into tears. Mama, why are you crying? Did I do something wrong? No, baby. Clara pulled Lucy into her arms, careful not to squeeze too tight. You didn't do anything wrong. I'm just happy. I'm so happy. You're crying 'cause you're happy. Sometimes that's how it works. She held her daughter and let herself feel it, the relief, the gratitude, the overwhelming, terrifying love that made every sacrifice worth it. Jed appeared at the bedside. Fever broke around 4 this morning. She's gonna need rest and plenty of fluids, but she'll pull through. Thank you. Clara's voice was thick with tears. I don't know how to ever... Don't need thanks. Jed's weathered face creased into something almost like a smile. Just need to see you and these young ones safe. That's payment enough. Sam found Clara on the porch an hour later. She'd stepped outside to breathe, to think, to try to process everything that had happened. The morning was cold, but clear, the snow sparkling like diamonds in the early light. Beautiful, ain't it? Sam's voice came from behind her. Hard to believe something so pretty tried to kill you. Montana's like that, beautiful and deadly. Most things worth loving are. Clara turned to face him. In the daylight she could see him properly for the first time. The gray at his temples, the tired lines around his eyes, the scar on his jaw still pale after what must have been years of healing. Mr. Beckett. Sam. Sam. She took a breath. Why are you doing this? The truth, not the polite answer. He was quiet for a moment, his eyes on the distant mountains. Because someone did it for me once, long time ago when I had nothing and nobody. A stranger took me in, gave me work, gave me a reason to keep living when I'd lost everyone I loved. He paused. That man died 3 years back. I can't repay him, but I can pass it on. Who did you lose? The question came out before Clara could stop it. She saw Sam's jaw tighten, saw the old pain flash through his eyes. My fiancée, Annabelle. She died of fever while I was off fighting in the war. I came home to a grave and an empty house. His voice was flat, controlled, but Clara heard the grief underneath. Spent 7 years trying to outrun that grief. Didn't work. Finally figured out you can't outrun something that's inside you. I'm sorry. Don't be. It was a long time ago. He turned to face her. Mrs. Whitmore. Clara. Something shifted in his expression. Clara. You got a choice to make. You can stay here and try to survive on your own, and maybe you'll make it, and maybe you won't. Or you can come to Broken Arrow. I need a household manager, someone to cook for the hands, keep the place running. Room and board for you and all your children, plus fair wages. You work for me through the winter, and come spring, you decide what comes next. Clara's heart was pounding. Why me? You don't know anything about me. I know you walked half a mile through hip-deep snow to check empty traps while your daughter was dying. I know you gave your own food to your children and pretended you'd already eaten. I know you held your family together when any sane person would have given up. Sam's gray eyes held hers. That's enough. It was too good, too easy, too much like the promises Robert used to make. But Sam wasn't Robert. Clara could see that now. Robert's promises had been smoke and mirrors, pretty words to cover ugly intentions. Sam's offer was plain and practical. No flourishes, no false hope. I have conditions. I expected you would. Written agreement, everything on paper. Done. My children are off limits for heavy work. Agreed. We stay in your main house, but you keep your distance. Professional boundaries, always. I'll move to the bunkhouse. The house is yours. Clara hesitated on the last condition. If anything happens, if I feel unsafe, if my children are threatened, we leave, immediately. No argument. Sam nodded. If you ever feel unsafe under my roof, I'll saddle the horses myself. Clara studied his face one last time. Searching for the lie, the trap, the hidden agenda. She found nothing but sincerity, and that deep, old pain. All right, Mr. Beckett, you got yourself a deal. She extended her hand. He took it. Sam, he said. Sam. Behind her, the cabin door opened. Mama. Grace's voice was cold. What's going on? Clara turned to face her eldest daughter. We're leaving, Grace. Mr. Beckett has offered us work and shelter at his ranch. Grace's face went white. No. Grace. No. Grace stepped forward, her small body trembling with fury. You can't trust him. Papa was just like him, all charm and promises, and look what happened. Look what he did to us. Sam ain't your papa. How do you know you trusted Papa and he left us to die? Grace's voice cracked. I ain't gonna let you make the same mistake again. Grace Ellen Whitmore. Clara's voice was steel. That's enough. It ain't enough. Nothing's ever enough. Tears streamed down Grace's face, now the dam finally breaking. I hate him. I hate Papa. I hate everyone. And I ain't gonna let some stranger take his place just 'cause he showed up with a warm canteen and a pretty speech. Sam hadn't moved, hadn't tried to intervene. He just stood there, letting Grace's fury wash over him like water off stone. When she finally ran out of words, he spoke. You're right to be angry, Miss Grace. Your papa did you wrong, and nothing's ever gonna make that okay. But I ain't asking to take his place. I ain't asking you to trust me, or like me, or even look at me if you don't want to. He crouched down, meeting her eyes. All I'm asking is a chance. One winter. Let me prove I ain't like him. And if I fail, if I do anything at all that makes you feel unsafe, you can run me off yourself. Deal. Grace glared at him through her tears. I'm watching you. Good. I'd expect nothing less. You hurt my mama or my brothers and sisters, and I'll make you sorry. I don't care how big you are. I believe you. They stared at each other, the broken man and the wounded girl, both of them carrying scars that would never fully heal. Then Grace turned and walked back into the cabin without another word. Sam stood up slowly. She's gonna be trouble. She's gonna be your biggest critic. Clara almost smiled. Think you can handle it? Reckon I'll have to. Clara looked at the cabin, then at Sam, then at the vast white wilderness stretching in every direction. Her husband had left her with nothing. A stranger had offered her everything. And for the first time in 3 days, Clara Whitmore allowed herself to hope. "When do we leave?" Sam glanced at the sky. "Soon as your daughter's strong enough to travel. Day or 2, maybe 3. And if another storm comes, then we wait it out together." He met her eyes, and Clara saw something there that looked almost like a promise. "Whatever comes, Mrs. Whitmore, you ain't facing it alone anymore." Clara nodded slowly. "Clara," she said, "if we're going to be living under the same roof, you might as well use my name." Sam smiled the first real smile she'd seen from him. "Clara." He tested it out. "Welcome to Broken Arrow." The journey to Broken Arrow took most of the day. Lucy rode in front of Jed, bundled in every blanket they owned. Her small body still weak, but her eyes bright with curiosity. Emma refused to leave her twin's side, perching behind Jed with her arms wrapped tight around his waist. Clara rode with Sam again, William dozing against her chest, his thumb in his mouth. Henry and Grace shared the second horse. Jed had brought Grace's arms rigid around her brother's waist, her face set in a permanent scowl. Nobody spoke much. The snow was deep, the going slow, and everyone was too exhausted for conversation. Clara found herself studying the back of Sam's head as they rode. The way he sat his horse, easy and confident. The way his shoulders tensed whenever they hit a rough patch, like he was bracing for something that might never come. What kind of man spent 7 years grieving a woman he'd never married? What kind of man rode out in a blizzard to check on strangers? The kind of man Robert had never been. Clara pushed the thought away. It was too soon for comparisons, too soon for anything except survival. "Mama." William stirred against her chest. "Are we there yet?" "Almost, baby." "I'm hungry." "I know. We'll eat soon." "Promise." Clara's throat tightened. How many promises had she made in the last 3 days? How many had she actually been able to keep? "I promise." They crested a ridge, and Sam reined in his horse. There it is. Clara looked down into the valley and felt her breath catch. Broken Arrow Ranch spread out below them like something from a dream. A large house with a wide porch, smoke rising from the chimney. A barn twice the size of their old cabin. Corrals and outbuildings and fences stretching toward the distant tree line. It was the most beautiful thing Clara had ever seen. "That's your ranch?" Henry's voice was awed. "All of it! All of it!" Sam's voice was quiet, almost shy. "It ain't much, but it's home." "Ain't much." Grace's scoff cut through the moment. "It's bigger than any place we ever lived." "Size ain't everything, Miss Grace. A small cabin full of love beats a big house full of nothing." Grace didn't respond, but Clara saw something flicker across her daughter's face. Doubt, maybe. Or the first crack in her armor. They descended into the valley as the sun began its slide toward the horizon. By the time they reached the main house, Clara's legs were numb and her arms ached from holding William. Sam dismounted first and reached up to help her down. "I can manage." "I know you can. But you don't have to." Clara hesitated, then let him take William from her arms. His hands were gentle, careful, and William barely stirred. "Come on." Sam nodded toward the house. "Let's get you all inside before you freeze solid." The front door opened before they reached it. A woman stepped onto the porch. Her dark hair streaked with silver, her brown face creased with concern. "Samuel Beckett, you better have a good explanation for being gone 2 days without word." "Rosa, Don't you? Rosa me. I've been worried sick and Jed's wife has been driving me crazy asking if I've heard anything and—" She stopped mid-sentence, her eyes landing on Clara and the children. "Oh. Rosa, this is Clara Whitmore and her family. They're going to be staying with us for a while." Sam's voice was calm, matter-of-fact. "Clara, this is Rosa Martinez. She's been keeping this place running since before I bought it." Rosa's sharp eyes moved from Clara to the children to Lucy, still bundled in Jed's arms. "That child's sick. Lung fever. Jed treated her, but she needs rest. She needs more than rest. She needs proper food and a warm bed and someone who knows what they're doing." Rosa was already moving toward Jed, her capable hands reaching for Lucy. "Bring her inside. I'll get the spare room ready." "Rosa." "Don't argue with me, Samuel. You brought him here, now let me take care of him." Rosa paused at the door, looking back at Clara. "You look half dead yourself. When's the last time you ate?" Clara couldn't remember. "That's what I thought. Inside, all of you. Now." She disappeared into the house with Lucy, leaving Clara standing in the yard with her remaining children, feeling like she'd been hit by a tornado. Sam cleared his throat. "Rosa takes some getting used to. She always like that. Only when she's breathing." Despite everything, Clara laughed. It came out rusty and broken, but it was a laugh. "I like her." Most people do eventually. Sam gestured toward the door. "Come on, let's get you settled." The inside of the house was warm, so warm that Clara felt tears prick her eyes. After 3 days of cold that seeped into your bones, the simple sensation of heat was almost overwhelming. "Mama," Emma tugged at her sleeve. "It's like summer in here." "I know, baby." "Can we stay forever?" Clara didn't answer. Couldn't answer. Because forever was a word she'd stopped believing in a long time ago. Rosa reappeared from a back hallway. "The sick one's in bed. She's sleeping now, but she'll need broth when she wakes. The rest of you look like scarecrows. Kitchen's through there. I've got stew on the stove." "Ma'am, I can't just—" "You can and you will." Rosa's voice brooked no argument. "You're dead on your feet, your children are half-starved, and you ain't no good to anyone collapsed on my floor. Eat first, argue later." Clara opened her mouth to protest, then closed it. What was the point? Rosa was right. Pride wouldn't feed her children. "Thank you." Rosa's expression softened just a fraction. "Don't thank me yet. Wait till you taste my cooking." The stew was the best thing Clara had ever eaten. Rich and hot and full of meat, real meat, more than she'd seen in weeks. The children fell on it like wolves, and Clara had to remind them 3 times to slow down before they made themselves sick. Grace ate in silence, her eyes moving constantly around the room, taking in every detail. The solid walls, the glass windows, the shelves lined with books, and the rifle mounted above the fireplace. "This is really his house?" she asked finally. "It is. And we're just gonna live here like it's ours. We're gonna work here." Clara kept her voice firm. "Mr. Beckett offered me a job. Room and board in exchange for managing the household." "What's that mean?" "Cooking, cleaning, keeping things running smooth. Same things I did at home, just more of it." Grace's eyes narrowed. "And what's he get out of it?" "A household manager." "That's it?" "That's it." Grace didn't look convinced. Clara couldn't blame her. She wasn't entirely convinced herself. After dinner, Rosa showed them to their rooms. Rooms plural. Clara and the girls would share the large bedroom at the end of the hall. Henry and William would take the smaller room next door. "Lucy stays where she is till she's stronger," Rosa said. "I'll check on her through the night." "I can do that. She's my daughter." "And you're exhausted. You ain't slept proper in days, I can see it in your face. Let me help." Rosa's voice gentled. "You don't have to do everything alone anymore, Mrs. Whitmore. That's what this place is for." Clara felt something crack inside her chest. Not breaking, but opening, like a door she'd nailed shut a long time ago. "Thank you," she whispered. "I don't know how to ever—" "Don't need to thank me. Just rest. Everything else can wait till morning." The bed was soft. Clara couldn't remember the last time she'd slept on something soft. The cabin's mattress had been little more than straw, and for the past 3 days, she'd been sleeping on the floor. Emma and the twins were already asleep, curled together in a warm pile. Grace lay on the far edge of the bed, her back to Clara, her body rigid with tension. "Grace?" No response. "Grace? I know you're awake." A long pause, then barely audible, "What?" "I need you to give this place a chance." "Why?" "Because it's all we've got." Grace rolled over to face her mother. In the dim light from the window, her eyes were too bright. What if he's like Papa? What if he seems nice and then one day he just... Then we leave. I already told him that. Anytime we want to go, we go. You believe him? Clara considered the question. Did she believe Sam Beckett? Did she trust him? No, not yet. Trust was earned, not given. But she believed he wasn't Robert. She believed he meant what he said, even if she didn't fully understand why. I believe he's gonna try, Clara said finally. And right now, that's more than anyone else has offered us. Grace was quiet for a long moment. I still don't like him. You don't have to like him. You just have to give him a fair chance. And if he fails, then you can say I told you so and we'll figure out something else. Clara reached out and brushed a strand of hair from her daughter's face. But Grace, I need you to try. Really try. Can you do that for me? Grace's jaw tightened. Then slowly she nodded. I'll try. But I ain't promising to be nice about it. Clara smiled despite herself. I wouldn't expect anything less. Morning came too soon. Clara woke to the sound of a rooster crowing and the smell of coffee, and for a disorienting moment she forgot where she was. Then memory crashed back, and she sat up so fast her head spun. The children. Where were the children? She stumbled out of bed and down the hall, her heart pounding. The house was quiet, too quiet. Where was everyone? What had happened? Had Sam? She burst into the kitchen and stopped dead. Henry sat at the big wooden table, a plate of eggs and bacon in front of him, his eyes wide with wonder. Emma and William were beside him, eating with the focused intensity of children who'd been hungry too long. Rosa stood at the stove, flipping pancakes like it was the most natural thing in the world. And at the head of the table, a cup of coffee in his hands, sat Sam Beckett. Morning. His voice was easy, relaxed. Sleep all right. Clara's legs went weak with relief. Yes. I didn't mean to sleep so late. I should have been up to help with... You should have been resting, which is exactly what you did. Sam stood and pulled out a chair for her. Sit. Eat. There's plenty. Where's Grace? Where's Lucy? Grace is in with her sister. Lucy woke up about an hour ago asking for breakfast. Rosa made her some broth. Sam's eyes met Clara's, warm and reassuring. She's doing better. Color's coming back to her cheeks. Clara sank into the chair, her legs suddenly unable to hold her. Thank God. Thank Jed. And Rosa. Sam pushed a plate toward her. Now eat. We've got a lot to discuss, and you can't make decisions on an empty stomach. Clara ate. The food was good, better than good, and she found herself taking second helpings without meaning to. When was the last time she'd eaten her fill? When was the last time she hadn't had to count every bite, calculate every portion? After breakfast, Sam led her to a small office at the back of the house. A desk sat by the window covered in papers and ledgers. He pulled a chair out for her and took a seat behind the desk. I had Jed ride to town this morning. Brought back the land agent to draw up our agreement. He pushed a paper across the desk toward her. Take your time. Read every word. Clara picked up the document and read it carefully. Room and board for her and all 5 children. Wages of $20 a month, higher than she'd expected. Her duties listed clearly cooking, cleaning, household management, assisting with food preservation. This says I'm to manage the household. That's right. That's a position of responsibility. You're responsible for 5 children, and you kept them alive through 3 days of hell with nothing but determination and empty traps. Sam's voice was matter of fact. I reckon you can handle a household. Clara looked up from the paper. And the part about professional boundaries. Like we discussed, I'm moving to the bunkhouse with the hands. You and your children have the house to yourselves. Rosa stays in her cabin out back, same as always, but she'll be here during the days to help. What about you? What about me? You said you've lived in this house for 7 years. Now you're just gonna give it up. Sam was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was rougher than before. This house was meant for a family. I built it thinking I'd fill it with children and noise and life. That didn't happen. He paused. Maybe this is a second chance. Not for me, but for the house. Let it be what it was supposed to be. Clara felt her throat tighten. Mr. Beckett. Sam. Sam. She set down the paper. I need to ask you something, and I need you to answer honest. Ask. Why are you really doing this? And don't give me that speech about paying it forward. I want the real reason. Sam leaned back in his chair. For a long moment he just looked at her, and Clara had the strange sense that he was deciding something, making a choice. You remind me of her, he said finally. Annabelle. Not in looks, she was fair-haired, blue-eyed, nothing like you. But the way you fight. The way you refuse to give up even when everything's against you. The way you love those children like they're the only thing in the world worth living for. His voice dropped. She would have been like that. If we'd had children. If she'd lived. Clara didn't know what to say. I couldn't save her. Sam's jaw tightened. I was 100 miles away fighting a war that didn't mean nothing, and she was dying alone in a house I'd built for us. By the time I got word, she was already in the ground. I'm sorry. Don't be. It was a long time ago. But his eyes said different. His eyes said the wound was still fresh, still bleeding somewhere deep inside. When I saw you in that snow, kneeling by those empty traps, I thought this is what Annabelle would have wanted. If she'd lived, she would have wanted me to help someone, to stop wallowing in my own grief, and actually do some good in the world. Clara absorbed this, the grief, the guilt, the desperate need to make meaning out of loss. She understood it better than Sam knew. All right, she said. I'll sign. Sam blinked. Just like that. Just like that. Clara picked up the pen from the desk. But I've got one more condition. Name it. Grace. She's not going to make this easy for you. She's angry and scared, and she's got every right to be. If you want this to work, you're going to have to earn her trust, and that means being patient even when she's being impossible. Sam almost smiled. I think I can manage that. You think? You don't know Grace. No, I don't, but I'd like to. His eyes met hers, serious and sincere. I'd like to know all of you, Clara, if you'll let me. Clara hesitated, the pen hovering over the paper. If you'll let me. Such simple words, such enormous weight. She thought about Robert, who'd never asked permission for anything, who'd dragged her across the country on one failed scheme after another, never once considering what she wanted, who'd taken everything and left her with nothing. Sam was asking. Sam was waiting. That had to mean something. Clara signed the paper. Welcome to Broken Arrow, Sam said. The first week passed in a blur. Clara threw herself into work with a desperation that bordered on obsession. She learned every corner of the house, every cabinet, every system Rosa had put in place. She cooked for the ranch hands, 8 men plus Sam and Jed, and discovered she actually enjoyed feeding people who appreciated good food. The hands were rough, but respectful. They removed their hats when they entered the kitchen, said please and thank you, and treated the children with gruff kindness. Tom, the oldest, took a particular shine to Henry. Boy's got good instincts, he told Clara one morning. Asks smart questions, wants to learn. He wants to be useful. Nothing wrong with that. World needs more folks who want to be useful instead of just wanting to be rich. Lucy grew stronger every day. By the end of the first week, she was sitting up in bed, demanding to join her siblings. Emma barely left her side, and Clara found herself grateful for the twin bond that kept them both anchored. William attached himself to Rosa like a burr. He followed her everywhere, chattering constantly, asking questions that would have tried the patience of a saint. Rosa answered everyone with remarkable calm. He just wants to be seen, Rosa told Clara one afternoon. Youngest children always do. They spend their whole lives fighting for attention. He's never been this talkative before. He's never felt safe before. The observation hit Clara like a punch to the gut. Had her children never felt safe? Had she failed them that badly? Rosa seemed to read her thoughts. It ain't your fault, Clara. You did the best you could with what you had. Now you've got more. Let 'em flourish." Grace was a different story. She kept her distance from everyone, especially Sam. She did her chores without complaint, but without warmth, speaking only when spoken to, watching everything with those two old eyes. Sam tried. Clara had to give him credit for that. He tried every day. "Morning, Miss Grace." "Morning. Sleep all right?" "Fine." "Anything you need?" "No." The same exchange every morning until Clara wanted to shake them both. On the seventh day, something shifted. Clara was in the kitchen kneading bread when she heard voices from the barn. Raised voices, angry voices. She wiped her hands and hurried outside, her heart in her throat. The scene she found stopped her cold. Henry stood in the middle of the barn, his face red with fury and tears. One of the horses, a big gray mare, was loose from her stall, prancing nervously. "I was just trying to help." "I know, son." Sam's voice was calm, but Clara could see the tension in his shoulders. "But you can't approach a horse from behind like that. You spooked her." "Papa said I was good with horses. Papa said—" "Your papa wasn't here." Sam knelt down, putting himself at eye level with Henry. "I don't know what he told you, but I'm telling you now that Mare could have kicked your head in. You understand?" Henry's lower lip trembled. "I just wanted to help." "I know. And you will. But first you gotta learn, and learning means listening. Can you do that?" Henry nodded, tears spilling down his cheeks. "Good." Sam reached out and squeezed the boy's shoulder. "Tell you what, tomorrow I'll start teaching you proper. How to approach a horse, how to read their moods, everything you need to know to work with them safe." Henry's eyes went wide. "Really?" "Really. But only if you promise to do exactly what I say when I say it. No shortcuts, no showing off. Deal. Deal." Henry threw his arms around Sam's neck, and Clara saw something flash across Sam's face. Surprise. Wonder. And underneath it, a grief so deep it took her breath away. Then he was hugging Henry back, his big hands gentle on the boy's small shoulders, and Clara had to turn away before her tears gave her away. She wasn't the only one watching. Grace stood in the shadow of the barn door, her face unreadable. That night, Clara found her eldest daughter on the porch, staring out at the stars. "Can't sleep." Grace shrugged. "Mind if I sit?" Another shrug. Clara sat anyway. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The night was cold but clear, the sky blazing with more stars than Clara had ever seen. "He's trying," Grace said finally. "Mr. Beckett." "Sam." Grace's voice was strange, almost wondering. "He's really trying. With Henry. With all of us." "Yes, he is." "Why? What's in it for him?" Clara considered the question. The honest answer. The real answer. "I think he's lonely, Grace. I think he's been lonely for a very long time, and we gave him something to care about. That's sad." "Maybe. Or maybe it's just human." Clara reached out and took her daughter's hand. "People need people, even the strong ones. Maybe especially the strong ones." Grace was quiet for a moment. Then so softly, Clara almost missed it. "I don't hate him anymore. No. No. I just—" Grace's voice wavered. "I'm scared, Mama. I'm scared to like him. What if he leaves too? What if we trust him and he turns out to be just like Papa?" Clara squeezed her daughter's hand. "Then we'll survive it. Same as we survived before. But Grace, we can't live our whole lives afraid to trust anyone. That's not living. That's just existing. How do you know the difference?" "I don't. Not always." Clara looked up at the stars, so bright and distant and eternal. "But I know I'd rather be hurt again than spend the rest of my life too scared to try." Grace leaned against her mother's shoulder, and for the first time since Robert left, Clara felt something that might have been hope. 2 weeks after their arrival, Clara woke to find Jed in the kitchen, his weathered face grave. "Something wrong?" "Got word from town." Jed's voice was low for her ears only. Folks are talking. Clara's stomach dropped. Talking about what? About you. About Sam. About a widow woman living under the same roof as an unmarried man. Jed's dark eyes met hers. You know how people are. They'll make up stories to fill in what they don't know. Clara felt her face heat with anger and embarrassment. There's nothing to talk about. We have an arrangement. A business arrangement. I know that. You know that. But Mrs. Henderson at the general store don't know that, and she's got a mouth like a church bell. Clara sank into a chair. What do I do? You could go to town. Show your face. Let people see you're a respectable woman, not some... Jed trailed off, clearly uncomfortable. Not some harlot. Their word, not mine. Clara's hands curled into fists. She'd worked her whole life to maintain her respectability. Through Robert's failures, through poverty, through humiliation after humiliation. And now, when she was finally in a place where her children could thrive, strangers wanted to take that from her too. I'll go to town, she said. Today, I'll show them exactly who Clara Whitmore is. Jed nodded slowly. Take Grace with you. A mother with her daughter looks better than a woman alone. And Sam? Best if he stays here. No point adding fuel to the fire. Clara found Sam in the barn, working on a broken harness. She told him about the gossip, watching his face darken with each word. I should go with you. No, Jed's right. If we show up together, it'll just make things worse. So you're gonna face those vultures alone? I'm gonna face them with my head high and my daughter beside me. That's all I need. Sam's jaw tightened, but he nodded. Take the good wagon. And Clara. Yes. Don't let 'em break you. You're worth 10 of any of those gossips, and don't let 'em make you think otherwise. The ride to town took 2 hours. Grace sat beside Clara on the wagon seat, her face set with determination. What are we gonna do? We're gonna buy supplies. We're gonna smile at everyone we meet. And we're gonna show them that the Whitmore women ain't to be trifled with. What if they say something mean? Then we hold our heads high and walk away. Never let 'em see you bleed, Grace. That's rule number 1. The town of Copper Creek was small but bustling. Clara tied up the wagon outside the general store and helped Grace down, acutely aware of the eyes following them. Whispers. She could hear whispers. That's her. The one living at Beckett's place. 5 children, can you imagine? And her husband just ran off? I heard she's already sharing his bed. Clara's spine stiffened. She took Grace's hand and walked into the general store like she owned it. The woman behind the counter, Mrs. Henderson, presumably was a pinched-faced creature with sharp eyes and a sharper tongue. Can I help you? Yes, ma'am. I need flour, sugar, and coffee. 10 pounds of each. Mrs. Henderson's eyebrows rose. That's a lot of supplies. It's a lot of mouths to feed. Clara met the woman's gaze steadily. Mr. Beckett's ranch hands work hard. They need proper food. I'm sure they do. Mrs. Henderson's voice dripped with implication. And just how are you paying for all this, Mrs. Whitmore? With the wages I earn as Mr. Beckett's household manager. Is there a problem? The challenge hung in the air. Clara could feel the other customers watching, waiting to see how this would play out. Mrs. Henderson backed down first. No problem at all. I'll have your order ready in 10 minutes. Thank you. Clara turned to browse the other goods, her heart pounding but her face calm. She could feel Grace vibrating with tension beside her. Mama, Grace whispered. That woman is a witch. Language. Well, she is. Clara almost smiled. Probably, but we don't give her the satisfaction of seeing us upset. Remember what I said? Never let 'em see you bleed. That's my girl. They were loading the supplies into the wagon when a voice stopped Clara cold. Mrs. Whitmore. She turned to find a man she didn't recognize, middle-aged, with a silver star pinned to his chest. The sheriff. Can I help you? Deputy Marshal Thomas Gray, ma'am. He tipped his hat. I'm a friend of Sam Beckett's, served with him in the war. Clara relaxed slightly. Mr. Beckett mentioned you. I expect he did. I wanted to introduce myself. Let you know that if you ever need anything, anything at all, my office is always open. That's very kind, Deputy. It ain't kindness. It's just right. Deputy Gray's eyes were kind, but serious. Sam Beckett is the finest man I know. Whatever people are saying about your arrangement, I want you to know I don't believe a word of it. And if anyone gives you trouble, you come to me. Clara felt tears threaten and blinked them back. Thank you, Deputy. That means more than you know. Just doing my job, ma'am. He tipped his hat again. You have a safe ride back. The journey home was quiet. Grace stared out at the passing landscape, her brow furrowed with thought. Mama. Yes. Deputy Gray said Sam was the finest man he knows. He did. Do you think that's true? Clara considered the question. The honest answer. I think it might be. I think Sam Beckett might be exactly what he seems, a good man trying to do right by people who need help. Even though he's sad. What makes you say he's sad? Grace shrugged. I see it sometimes. When he thinks nobody's looking, he gets this look like he's remembering something that hurts. Clara's heart ached. He lost someone he loved very much, a long time ago. His fiancée. I heard Rosa talking about it. Yes. Is that why he's helping us? Because he couldn't help her. Clara didn't have an answer for that. Didn't know if there was an answer. Maybe, she said finally. Or maybe he's just a good man who does good things. Does it matter why? Grace thought about this. I guess not. I guess what matters is that he does 'em. That's right. They rode in silence for a while longer. Then Grace spoke again, her voice small. Mama, yes. I think I'm ready to give him a chance. A real chance. Clara reached over and squeezed her daughter's hand. I think he'd like that, Grace. I think he'd like that very much. When they got back to Broken Arrow, Sam was waiting on the porch. He stood as the wagon approached, his face taut with worry. Everything all right? Clara climbed down and met his eyes. Everything's fine. Better than fine, actually. The gossips. Handled. Clara straightened her shoulders. I ain't gonna let small-minded people dictate how I live my life, Sam. I learned that lesson a long time ago. Sam's expression softened. I never doubted you for a second. Good. Because there's something else I want to say. What's that? Clara took a breath. This was harder than facing Mrs. Henderson. Harder than anything she'd done in a long time. Thank you. For everything you've done for me and my children. For giving us a home when we had nothing. For being patient with Grace and kind to Henry and gentle with the little ones. I don't know how to repay you, but I want you to know I see it. I see you. And I'm grateful. Sam was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was rough. You don't owe me anything, Clara. Having you here, having your children running around this place making noise and mischief, that's payment enough. He paused. This house has been quiet for too long. It's good to hear it laugh again. They stood there looking at each other, something unspoken passing between them. Then Grace's voice broke the moment. Mama Henry's trying to ride one of the horses by himself. Lord have mercy. Clara turned and ran toward the barn, her heart in her throat. But she was smiling as she ran. For the first time in longer than she could remember, she was smiling. Behind her, Sam watched her go, and something in his expression said that he was smiling too. 3 weeks at Broken Arrow, and Clara had almost forgotten what it felt like to be afraid. Almost. The fear still came sometimes late at night when the house was quiet and her mind wouldn't stop racing. What if this ended? What if Sam changed his mind? What if Robert came back? But during the day, surrounded by her children's laughter and the steady rhythm of work, she could push those fears aside. She could pretend, just for a little while, that this was her life now. That it would last. Lucy was fully recovered, running around with Emma like nothing had ever happened. The twins had claimed a corner of the barn as their secret hideout, and spent hours there whispering and giggling about things only 6-year-olds understood. Henry had become Sam's shadow. Every morning the boy was up before dawn, waiting at the barn door for his lessons. Sam taught him how to approach horses, how to read their moods, how to earn their trust. Henry soaked it up like dry earth soaking up rain. "He's a natural," Sam told Clara one evening. "Best instincts I've seen in a boy his age." His father used to say the same thing. His father was right about that at least. Clara didn't miss the edge in Sam's voice. He never spoke ill of Robert directly, but his contempt was clear in the silences, the pauses, the things he didn't say. William had adopted Rosa as his personal grandmother, following her everywhere, helping with tasks that usually required twice as long with his assistants. Rosa never complained. She seemed to genuinely enjoy his company, answering his endless questions with patience Clara couldn't have mustered. And Grace. Grace was the miracle Clara hadn't dared hope for. The change had been gradual, so slow, Clara almost missed it. A softening around the edges. Fewer hostile glances. More words exchanged at meals. And then one morning, Clara walked into the kitchen to find Grace and Sam sitting at the table together, heads bent over a book. "What's this?" Grace looked up, and for once there was no suspicion in her eyes. "Sam's teaching me to read better. He says I've got a good vocabulary, but my pronunciation needs work." "Is that so?" "She's a quick study." Sam's voice was warm. "Reminds me of well. She learns fast." Clara knew he'd been about to say Annabelle. She could see it in the way he caught himself, the brief flash of pain before he buried it. "Don't let me interrupt." "You're not interrupting, Mama." Grace turned back to the book. "We were just finishing up anyway." Clara poured herself coffee and watched them from the corner of her eye. Sam was patient with Grace in a way Robert had never been patient with anyone. He corrected her gently, praised her honestly, and never once made her feel stupid for not knowing something. This is what a father should be, Clara thought. This is what my children deserved all along. The thought terrified her, because wanting something this badly meant losing it would destroy her. Winter deepened its grip on the ranch. The first real blizzard hit in early December, trapping everyone inside for 3 days. Clara expected chaos, 5 children cooped up with nowhere to go, but instead found something unexpected: family. Sam produced a worn deck of cards and taught Henry and Grace to play poker. Rosa organized the twins into a baking brigade, producing enough cookies to feed an army. Jed sat in the corner whittling wooden animals, while William watched with rapt attention. Clara found herself actually enjoying the enforced closeness, the way everyone had to work together to pass the time. On the second night, Sam built up the fire and gathered everyone in the main room. "Story time," he announced. "What kind of story?" Lucy asked, bouncing with excitement. "The best kind, true stories." He told them about his time in the war. Not the bloody parts, but the human parts, the friends he'd made, the strange things he'd seen, the way men could find humor, even in the darkest circumstances. He told them about Jed, how they'd met in a field hospital and sworn to look out for each other if they survived. "And did you?" Emma asked breathlessly. "Survive?" "We did. But a lot of good men didn't." Sam's voice was quiet. "That's why we remember them. That's why we tell their stories, so they don't disappear." Grace was watching him, with an expression Clara couldn't quite read. "Did you lose someone in the war?" Sam's jaw tightened, but he didn't look away. "Not in the war, no, but because of it." He paused. "I lost someone while I was gone, someone I loved very much." "Your fiancée?" "Yes." "What was her name?" "Grace." Clara's voice held a warning. "It's all right." Sam met Grace's eyes. "Her name was Annabelle, and she would have liked you, Miss Grace. She had the same fire in her that you do." Grace was quiet for a moment. Then she said something that made Clara's breath catch. "I'm sorry you lost her." Sam blinked. For a moment he seemed unable to speak. "Thank you," he said finally. "That means a lot." Something passed between them in that moment, an understanding, a truce, perhaps even the beginning of trust. Clara watched it happen, and felt tears prick her eyes. Her daughter was healing. Slowly, painfully, but healing. Maybe they all were. The storm broke on the third morning, and with it came unexpected visitors. Rosa spotted them first, two riders approaching from the south, fighting through the deep drifts. "Expecting anyone?" she asked Sam. "No." Sam grabbed his rifle and went out to meet them. Clara watched from the window, her heart hammering. After the gossip in town, after everything they'd been through, she didn't trust strangers. But Sam's posture relaxed as the riders drew closer. He lowered the rifle and actually smiled. "Well, I'll be damned." The first rider dismounted a woman about Clara's age with dark hair and a no-nonsense expression. The second was a man Clara recognized from town, the deputy marshal, who'd spoken kindly to her. "Thomas." Sam clasped the deputy's hand. "What brings you out in weather like this?" "Had to check on you, didn't I? Make sure the storm hadn't buried you." Thomas's eyes moved to the house, to Clara's face in the window. "And to introduce you to someone." The woman stepped forward and extended her hand. "Margaret Gray, Thomas's wife. I've heard a lot about you, Mr. Beckett." "All good, I hope." "Enough." Margaret's smile was warm but sharp. "I've also heard about Mrs. Whitmore and her children. Thought it was high time we paid a proper visit." Clara met them at the door, uncertain what to expect. Margaret Gray studied her with frank curiosity, but there was no judgment in her gaze. "Mrs. Whitmore, it's a pleasure to meet you." "Likewise, Mrs. Gray." "Margaret, please. If we're going to be neighbors, we might as well be friendly about it." Over coffee and Rosa's fresh-baked bread, Clara learned that Margaret Gray was exactly what she appeared to be, a straightforward, practical woman who had no patience for gossip, and even less for people who spread it. "I heard what happened at Henderson's store," Margaret said. "That woman's had a mean tongue since the day she was born. Don't let her get to you." "I don't intend to." "Good. Because the people who matter don't care about gossip, and the people who gossip don't matter." Margaret set down her coffee cup. "I came here for a reason, Mrs. Whitmore. I'm organizing a Christmas gathering at the church in town. All the ranching families in the area. I'd like you and your children to come." Clara hesitated. After her reception at the general store, the idea of facing a room full of strangers made her stomach turn. "I'm not sure that's a good idea." "It's the best idea. The way to stop gossip is to show people who you really are. Give them a chance to know you, and the rumors will die on their own." "And if they don't?" Margaret smiled, and there was steel underneath the warmth. "Then they'll have me to answer to. And trust me, Mrs. Whitmore, nobody wants that." After the Grays left, Clara sat alone in the kitchen, turning the invitation over in her mind. Sam found her there. "You're thinking too hard. I can see the smoke coming out of your ears." "I'm trying to decide if going to that gathering is brave or stupid." "Why can't it be both?" Sam pulled out a chair and sat across from her. "Margaret's right. The best way to handle gossip is to face it head on. Show people you've got nothing to hide." "Easy for you to say. You're not the one they're talking about." "Yes, I am." Sam's voice was quiet. "They're talking about both of us, Clara. Saying I've taken advantage of a desperate woman. Saying I've got improper intentions toward you and your children." Clara's face heated. "That's ridiculous." "Is it?" The question hung in the air. Clara looked up and found Sam's gray eyes fixed on her with an intensity that made her breath catch. "Sam, I'm not saying anything improper is happening. I'm saying people will think what they want to think regardless of the truth." He paused. "But Clara, I need you to know something. Whatever people say about us, whatever rumors they spread, I would never do anything to disrespect you or compromise your reputation. You have my word." "I know that." "Do you?" "Yes." Clara's voice was firm. "I've known that since the day you found me in the snow. A man with improper intentions doesn't move to the bunkhouse, doesn't give up his own home to protect a stranger's reputation." Sam was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled, and some of the tension left his shoulders. "I'm glad we understand each other." "We do." But even as she said it, Clara felt something shift between them. something she wasn't ready to name. She pushed the feeling aside and focused on what mattered. I'll go to the gathering. Me and the children. You sure? No. But I'm going anyway. Like you said, sometimes brave and stupid are the same thing. The Christmas gathering was 2 weeks away. In the meantime, life at Broken Arrow continued its steady rhythm. Clara found herself falling into a routine that felt almost normal. Up before dawn. Breakfast for the hands. Lessons with the children. Cooking, cleaning, mending. Dinner by lamplight. Stories by the fire. Sleep dreamless and deep. She was happy. The realization crept up on her slowly, then hit her all at once. She was actually happy. The thought terrified her. Happy meant vulnerable. Happy meant having something to lose, and Clara had lost too much already to trust happiness. But try as she might, she couldn't stop it from growing. Couldn't stop the warm glow that spread through her chest when she watched Sam teaching Henry to ride. Couldn't stop the smile that tugged at her lips when Grace actually laughed at one of Jed's jokes. Couldn't stop the tears that threatened whenever William crawled into her lap and said, "I love you, Mama," for no reason at all. She was healing. Her children were healing. And against all odds, they were doing it together. One evening, a week before the Christmas gathering, Clara was alone in the kitchen when Sam came in from the barn. His face was troubled, his movements tense. Something wrong. Got a letter from town. He pulled a crumpled paper from his pocket. Thomas sent a writer out. Clara's stomach dropped. What kind of letter? Someone's been asking about you, about your family. Sam's jaw tightened. A man came through town last week asking questions. Where you were living, how you were doing, who you were staying with. Clara's blood went cold. Did they get a name? No. But Thomas says he was rough-looking, rode a tired horse, seemed like he'd been traveling hard. Sam met her eyes. Clara, do you know anyone who might be looking for you? Robert. It had to be Robert. My husband, Clara whispered. He said he was going to California. But what if he changed his mind? What if he's coming back? He can't take you. You know that, right? He can't just show up and drag you away. Can't he? Clara's voice rose. He's still my husband, Sam. In the eyes of the law, he has rights. Rights to me, rights to the children. He forfeited those rights when he abandoned you. You think a judge will see it that way? You think anyone's going to take my side over his? I'll make them take your side. Sam's voice was fierce. Clara, listen to me. If Robert Whitmore shows up here, he's not taking you anywhere. Not you, not your children. I won't allow it. You can't promise that. Watch me. They stared at each other, the air between them thick with tension. Clara wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that someone would actually fight for her. But she'd trusted before, and look where that had gotten her. I need to tell the children, she said finally. They need to know he might be coming. Are you sure it might scare them? They deserve the truth. No more lies, no more pretending. Sam nodded slowly. Do you want me there when you tell them? Clara hesitated. Part of her wanted to say no to handle this alone like she'd handled everything else. But another part, a part that was growing stronger every day, didn't want to be alone anymore. Yes, she said. I want you there. She told them that night, gathered in the main room with the fire crackling and Rosa's cookies untouched on the table. Your father might be coming back. Silence. Clara watched the emotions play across her children's faces. Fear, confusion, anger, hope. Is he going to take us away? Henry's voice was small. No. How do you know? Because I won't let him. Sam's voice cut through the room, firm and sure. None of you are going anywhere. This is your home now, and I'll fight anyone who tries to change that. Even Papa? William asked. Even your Papa? Grace hadn't spoken. She sat rigid in her chair, her face pale, her hands clenched in her lap. Grace. Clara reached for her daughter's hand. Talk to me. I don't want to see him. Grace's voice was barely a whisper. I don't want him to come here. I don't want him to ruin everything. He won't ruin anything. How do you know he ruins everything he touches? He ruined our home. He ruined our family. He almost ruined us." Grace's voice cracked. "I finally feel safe, Mama. For the first time in my life, I feel like I belong somewhere. And now he's going to take that away." "No." Clara pulled her daughter close. "No, Grace, he's not. I won't let him. You couldn't stop him before." The words hit Clara like a physical blow. Because they were true. She hadn't stopped Robert before. She'd watched him fail over and over, watched him drag them from one disaster to another, and she'd never once stood up and said no. But that was before. Before she'd nearly died in the snow. Before Sam had given her a chance. Before she'd found something worth fighting for. "I'm different now," Clara said. "We're all different now. And whatever happens, we face it together. As a family." Grace looked up, her eyes wet with tears. "You mean that every word?" Grace turned to Sam, studying him with those two old eyes. "You too. You're part of this family." Sam didn't hesitate. "If you'll have me." Something broke in Grace's face. Not breaking apart, but breaking open, like ice cracking in spring to reveal the water underneath. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay." She let Clara hold her while she cried, and for the first time since Robert left, Clara felt like they might actually survive this. The night before the Christmas gathering, Clara couldn't sleep. She stood at the window of her room, watching the stars wheel overhead, thinking about everything that had happened and everything that was still to come. Robert might be coming. The thought sat in her stomach like a stone, but alongside the fear was something else, something that felt almost like defiance. Let him come. Let him see what she'd built without him. Let him see their children thriving, growing, healing. Let him see that they didn't need him anymore. Let him see that she had found someone better. The thought came unbidden, and Clara's face heated. She hadn't let herself think about Sam that way. Hadn't let herself consider the possibility of anything beyond their professional arrangement. But the feelings were there, whether she acknowledged them or not. The way her heart lifted when he walked into a room. The way his laugh made her want to smile. The way his kindness to her children made her ache with gratitude and something deeper. She was falling for Samuel Beckett. And she had no idea what to do about it. A knock at her door made her jump. "Clara." Sam's voice low and concerned. "You all right? I saw your light." She opened the door. He stood in the hallway, still dressed, his face etched with worry. "Couldn't sleep," she admitted. "Me neither." He hesitated. "Want some company?" They sat in the kitchen, 2 cups of coffee between them, the house quiet around them. "You're thinking about tomorrow," Sam said. "The gathering." "I'm thinking about everything. Tomorrow, Robert, the children, what happens next." "That's a lot to think about." "Too much." Clara wrapped her hands around her coffee cup, letting the warmth seep into her fingers. "Sam, can I ask you something?" "Anything." "Why haven't you married again after Annabelle?" The question clearly caught him off guard. He was quiet for a long moment. "Never found anyone who made me want to," he said finally. "After she died, I figured that part of my life was over. I'd had my chance at love, and I'd lost it. Didn't seem fair to give some other woman half a heart. Maybe that's not how it works. Maybe love isn't something you run out of." Sam looked at her. Really looked at her, and Clara felt something shift between them. "Maybe not," he said softly. "Maybe I'm just starting to figure that out." The moment stretched fragile and electric. Clara's heart was pounding. She should say something, do something, break the tension before it broke her. But before she could speak, a sound from upstairs shattered the silence. William's scream. Clara was up the stairs before she knew she was moving. She burst into the boys' room to find William sitting up in bed, sobbing, his small body shaking with terror. "Mama! Mama! The bad man was here. He was at the window." Clara gathered him into her arms, her own heart racing. "It was just a dream, baby. Just a bad dream." "No, I saw him. He had Papa's face, but wrong. All wrong." Sam appeared in the doorway, his face pale. What happened? Nightmare. But Clara's voice shook. William's terror felt too real, too immediate. She carried her son downstairs, Sam following close behind. Rosa appeared from her cabin, drawn by the commotion. Check the windows. Sam told Jed, who had come running from the bunkhouse. All of them. Check the grounds. They searched for an hour, but found nothing. No footprints in the snow, no sign that anyone had been near the house. Just a nightmare, Rosa said firmly. Children have them all the time. But Clara saw the way Sam's jaw was set, the way his eyes kept scanning the darkness beyond the windows. He didn't believe it was just a nightmare, neither did she. As dawn broke over Broken Arrow, Clara held her sleeping son and made a decision. Whatever was coming, whoever was out there, she would face it. She would protect her children with everything she had, and she wouldn't face it alone. Not anymore. The Christmas gathering came and went without incident. Clara smiled at strangers, shook hands, answered questions about her children and her work at Broken Arrow. Some people were warm, others were cold. Most were somewhere in between, curious but cautious, willing to reserve judgment. Margaret Gray stayed by her side the entire evening, steering her away from the worst gossips and toward the families who mattered. "You did good," Margaret said as they left the church. "Give it time. They'll come around." But Clara barely heard her. Her mind was elsewhere, caught between the warmth of the evening and the shadow that had been following her since William's nightmare. Someone was watching them. She felt it in her bones. 2 days after Christmas, the letter arrived. Jed brought it from town, his weathered face grim as he handed it to Clara. "Came through the mail coach. No return address." Clara's hands trembled as she opened it. The handwriting was Robert's, but messier than she remembered, the words scrawled like he'd been drunk or desperate. "Clara, I know where you are. I know you're living with Beckett, playing house like you're some kind of respectable woman. Don't think I don't know what's really going on. Those are my children. My wife. You belong to me. I'm coming for what's mine. Be ready. R." The paper slipped from Clara's fingers. "Clara?" Sam's voice came from behind her. "What is it?" She couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, could only stand there while the words burned themselves into her brain. "I'm coming for what's mine." Sam picked up the letter and read it. She watched his face change, watched the color drain and then flood back dark with fury. "Son of a bitch." Sam. "He thinks he can, just after what he did, he thinks he can walk back in and—" Sam crumpled the letter in his fist. "Over my dead body. What do? We prepare." Sam's voice was hard as iron. "We get Thomas out here, we make a plan, and we wait. When he shows up, we'll be ready. And if the law sides with him, it won't." "You don't know that." Sam crossed to her and took her shoulders, forcing her to meet his eyes. "Clara, listen to me. Robert Whitmore abandoned you and 5 children in the dead of winter with nothing. He stole your horse, your wagon, your food, your money. He left you to die." His grip tightened. "No judge in Montana is going to give him custody of those children. Not after what he did." "But I'm still his wife. For now." Sam's voice dropped. "Clara, there are ways to change that. Abandonment is grounds for legal separation. Thomas knows the law. We can fight this." "Fight it how?" "By proving what he did. By showing the court he's unfit. By doing whatever it takes to keep you and those children safe." Clara stared at him, her heart pounding. "Why?" The question came out before she could stop it. "Why do you care so much? We're nothing to you. Strangers you found in the snow." Sam's expression softened. His hands moved from her shoulders to cup her face so gentle it made her want to cry. "You're not strangers. Not anymore. He stopped, swallowed hard. "You're everything, Clara. You and those children. You're the reason I wake up in the morning. The reason this house feels like a home again. The reason I stopped running from my grief and started living again." Clara's breath caught. "Sam, I love you." The words came out rough, almost desperate. "I know I shouldn't say it. I know it's too soon, too complicated, too everything. But I love you, Clara Whitmore. I've loved you since you stood in that snow with empty traps and broken hopes and refused to give up. I love your strength and your stubbornness and the way you put your children before everything else. I love you, and I'll be damned if I let Robert Whitmore take you away from me." Clara was crying. She hadn't even realized it until she felt the tears sliding down her cheeks hot against Sam's calloused palms. "I'm scared," she whispered. "I'm so scared. I know. What if we lose? What if he takes them? What if—" "Then we fight harder. We appeal. We run if we have to." Sam's eyes held hers, fierce and certain. "But Clara, I need you to hear me. Whatever happens, you're not facing it alone. Not ever again." She kissed him. She didn't plan, didn't think about it. Just rose up on her toes and pressed her lips to his like she was drowning, and he was air. Sam made a sound low in his throat and pulled her closer, his arms wrapping around her like he was afraid she might disappear. The kiss was desperate and tender and full of everything they hadn't been able to say. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Sam rested his forehead against hers. "I've wanted to do that for weeks." "Me too." "What do we do now?" Clara took a shaky breath. "Now we tell the children, and then we prepare for whatever's coming." She told them that afternoon, gathered in the main room with Sam beside her. "Your father is coming." The reactions were immediate. Henry's face went white. The twins clutched each other. William started to cry. Grace sat frozen, her expression unreadable. "When—" Henry's voice cracked. "We don't know. Soon." "Is he going to take us away?" "No." Sam's voice was firm. "Nobody's taking any of you anywhere." "But he's our papa," Lucy whispered. "Don't we have to go with him?" "No." Clara knelt in front of her daughter. "Listen to me, Lucy. A father is more than blood. A father is someone who protects you, provides for you, loves you. Your papa stopped being those things when he left us. He lost the right to call himself your father." "Then who's our father now?" The question hung in the air. Clara looked at Sam, saw the hope and fear warring in his eyes. "That's up to you," she said carefully. "But whatever you decide, Mr. Sam is going to help protect us. He's part of this family now." Grace finally spoke. "You love him." It wasn't a question. "Yes," Clara said. "I do." "Do you love us too, Mama?" Grace's voice was fierce. "If you had to choose between him and us, who would you pick?" "I would never have to choose. Sam would never ask me to." "How do you know?" "Because I know him. Because he's shown me every single day that he cares about all of us, not just me." Clara reached for her daughter's hand. "Grace, I know you're scared. I know trusting people is hard after what your papa did. But Sam isn't your papa. He's different." Grace looked at Sam, studying him with those two old eyes. "If you hurt her," she said quietly, "I'll never forgive you." "I know. And if you hurt us?" "I won't." Sam's voice was steady. "I give you my word, Miss Grace. I will never abandon this family. I will never leave you to fend for yourselves. I will protect you with my last breath." Grace was silent for a long moment. Then she nodded once. "Okay. Okay. Okay. I believe you." She paused. "For now." It wasn't much, but it was something. Deputy Marshal Thomas Gray arrived the next morning with news that made Clara's blood run cold. "He's in Copper Creek. Showed up at the saloon last night drunk and running his mouth about his wife and children being stolen by some rancher." "Did he say when he's coming?" "Soon. Today, maybe tomorrow." Thomas's expression was grim. "Clara, I need you to understand something. Legally, this situation is complicated. Robert is still your husband. He does have certain rights." "What kind of rights?" "The right to see his children. The right to demand you return to him as his wife." "And if I refuse?" "Then it becomes a matter for the courts. We can file for legal separation based on abandonment, but that takes time. Weeks, maybe months." "We don't have weeks." I know. Thomas leaned forward. That's why I'm going to suggest something that might sound crazy. What? Get married. Clara stared at him. What? If you marry Sam before Robert can file any claims, your legal status changes. You're no longer Robert's wife. His rights become much more limited. But I am Robert's wife. I can't just... Actually, you can. Thomas pulled a paper from his coat. I've been doing some research. Montana Territory has specific provisions for abandonment. If a spouse abandons the family for more than 6 months without support, the marriage can be considered effectively dissolved. Robert left you in late fall. It's been just over 2 months, but there's precedent for accelerating the timeline in cases of extreme cruelty. Leaving us to starve counts as cruelty. It should. And I know a judge who agrees. Clara's head was spinning. Marry Sam today. The thought was terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. Sam? She turned to him. What do you think? Sam's eyes held hers dark and serious. I think I already asked you to marry me, Clara. I just didn't use those words. When I told you I loved you. When I said I'd fight for you and your children. When I promised I'd never leave. He took her hands. Clara Whitmore. I've been waiting my whole life for you. I just didn't know it until you showed up half frozen in my territory. Marry me. Not because of Robert, not because of the law, but because I love you, and I want to spend the rest of my life proving it. Clara's heart was pounding so hard she could barely breathe. The children will be my children. Legally, officially, completely. I'll adopt them all. Give them my name. Give them a real father who actually wants them. You'd do that. I'd do anything for you. Sam's voice cracked. Don't you know that by now? Clara looked at her children gathered around them with wide eyes and bated breath. What do you think? She asked them. All of you. This is your decision too. Henry spoke first. I want Sam to be my pa. He's already teaching me to ride. He already feels like family. The twins nodded in unison. We want to stay here forever. William, not fully understanding, but sensing the importance, added his voice. I like Sam. He tells good stories. Everyone looked at Grace. Clara held her breath. If Grace said no, if she refused to accept Sam, Clara didn't know what she'd do. Grace was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked at Sam with an expression that was part challenge, part hope. You really love her. You're not just saying it. I really love her. And you'll love us too, even when we're difficult, even when we make mistakes. Especially then. Grace nodded slowly. Then yes. I say yes. Clara felt tears streaming down her face as she turned back to Sam. Yes, she whispered. My answer is yes. They were married that afternoon. Thomas performed the ceremony in the main room of Broken Arrow with Jed and Rosa as witnesses and 5 children crowded around them. It wasn't fancy. Clara wore her work dress. Sam wore his cleanest shirt. But when he slipped the simple gold band onto her finger, when he said I do, with such fierce certainty that it made her knees weak, Clara felt like the richest woman in the world. I now pronounce you husband and wife. Thomas smiled. Sam, you may kiss your bride. Sam kissed her gently, reverently, like she was something precious. The children cheered. Rosa wiped her eyes. Even stoic Jed looked suspiciously emotional. Well, Mrs. Beckett, Sam murmured against her lips. How does it feel? Like coming home. The celebration was cut short by the sound of hoofbeats. Clara's blood went cold. Sam's arms tightened around her. Stay inside, he said. All of you. Sam. I mean it, Clara. Keep the children inside. He strode out onto the porch, Thomas beside him. Clara rushed to the window, her heart in her throat. A single rider approached his horse, lathered with sweat, his posture aggressive even from a distance. Robert. He looked worse than Clara remembered. Thinner, older, harder. His clothes were filthy, his face unshaven, his eyes wild with something that looked like madness. "Clara!" His voice echoed across the yard. "I know you're in there. Get out here." Sam stepped forward. "She's not coming out, Whitmore. You need to leave." "Who the hell are you to tell me what to do? That's my wife in there, my children." "Not anymore." Robert's face contorted with rage. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means Clara is married to me now. Has been for about 20 minutes. Your claim to her is finished." For a moment Robert just stared. Then he laughed a ugly, broken sound. "You think a piece of paper changes anything? You think you can just steal my family?" "I didn't steal anything. You threw them away." Sam's voice was cold. "You left them to die, Whitmore. Took everything and ran. What kind of man does that?" "You don't know what you're talking about." "I know exactly what I'm talking about. I found your wife half frozen in the snow, checking empty traps trying to keep your children alive. I watched your daughter almost die of lung fever while you were off chasing silver in California." Robert flinched, but his expression hardened. "I came back, didn't I? I'm here now. Too late. You're months too late and dollars too short." Sam stepped forward. "Now get off my property before I remove you." "I want to see my children." "No. You can't keep them from me. I'm their father." "You're nothing." Clara's voice rang out from the doorway. She couldn't help it, couldn't stand inside while Sam fought her battles. "You're a coward and a liar, and you have no right to call yourself their father." Robert's eyes found hers, and something twisted in his face. "Clara, please. I made a mistake. I know that now. But I came back. That has to count for something. It counts for nothing. I'm your husband. You were my husband. Now you're just the man who abandoned us." Clara descended the porch steps, Sam close behind her. "Do you have any idea what we went through after you left? The children were starving. Lucy almost died. I had to beg a stranger for help because you took everything. I was going to send money. You were going to let us die." Clara's voice cracked. "You knew what you were doing when you left Robert. You knew we couldn't survive without supplies. And you did it anyway." Robert's face crumpled. "Clara, please. Give me another chance. I can be better. I can be the husband you deserve." "I already have the husband I deserve." Clara reached for Sam's hand. "You need to leave, Robert. There's nothing for you here. The children don't want to see you." Grace appeared on the porch, her siblings gathered behind her. "None of us do." Robert stared at his daughter like he was seeing a stranger. "Gracie." "Don't call me that. Don't call me anything." Grace's voice shook, but her eyes were fierce. "You left us, Papa. You looked at us every day for years and then you just left, like we were nothing, like we didn't matter." "You matter. Of course you matter." "Then why did you go?" Robert had no answer. For the first time, the fight seemed to drain out of him. "I don't know," he whispered. "I don't know, Gracie. I thought you'd be better off without me. We almost died without you." I know, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Grace shook her head slowly. "Sorry doesn't bring back the food you stole. Sorry doesn't bring back the nights we went hungry. Sorry doesn't make Mama uncry all the tears she shed over you." She straightened her spine. "Go away, Papa. We have a new family now, one that actually wants us." Robert looked from Grace to the other children to Clara to Sam. His shoulders slumped. "I could fight this. Lawyers' courts, I could drag this out for years." "You could." Thomas stepped forward. "But you won't win. Not with what I know about your abandonment. And in the meantime, you'll spend every penny you have on legal fees while these children grow up hating you more with each passing day. So what do you suggest? Walk away. Sign the papers releasing Clara from the marriage and giving up your parental rights. Start fresh somewhere else." Thomas's voice softened. "It's the best thing you can do for them, Whitmore. The kindest thing." Robert was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was hollow. "I really did love them. You know that, right? I loved them." "Maybe," Clara said. But love without action is just words, and words don't keep children warm at night. Robert nodded slowly. Then without another word he turned his horse and rode away. Clara watched him disappear over the horizon. This man she'd once loved, this man who'd given her 5 beautiful children, and then nearly destroyed them all. She felt nothing. No relief, no triumph, no lingering love. Just emptiness where he used to be. Sam's arm came around her shoulders. "It's over," he said softly. "Is it?" "He'll sign the papers." I saw it in his eyes. He knows he lost. Clara leaned into her husband's embrace. "I thought I'd feel something. Happy, sad, angry. Something." "What do you feel?" Clara considered the question. The honest answer. "Free," she said finally. "I feel free." Sam kissed the top of her head. "Good. Because you are. We all are." Behind them, 5 children waited on the porch, watching their mother with hope in their eyes. Clara turned to face them, her family, her future, her everything. "Well," she said, and she was smiling now, really smiling. "Who wants to help me make dinner?" The children rushed toward her, all talking at once, and Clara gathered them close. Over their heads, she caught Sam's eye. "Thank you," she mouthed. He smiled. Always he mouthed back, and for the first time in her life, Clara believed it. The papers arrived 3 weeks later. Thomas brought them himself riding out to Broken Arrow on a gray February morning with an envelope that would change everything. He signed, Thomas said, handing the documents to Clara. "Full release of marital claims. Full surrender of parental rights. It's over." Clara stared at the papers Robert's signature scrawled at the bottom of each page. His handwriting was shakier than she remembered, like the hand that wrote it had been trembling. "Where is he now?" "Headed south last I heard. Texas, maybe Mexico. Said he couldn't stay in Montana anymore." Thomas paused. "He asked me to tell you something." "What?" "That he's sorry, and that he hopes the children find happiness." Clara folded the papers carefully. "Thank you, Thomas, for everything. Just doing my job." But his eyes were kind. "You deserve this, Clara. All of you do." After Thomas left, Clara found Sam in the barn brushing down one of the horses. Henry was beside him mimicking his movements with careful concentration. "It's done," Clara said. "He signed everything." Sam's hands stilled on the horse's flank. "How do you feel?" "I don't know yet. Ask me tomorrow." Henry looked up, his young face serious. "Does this mean you're really our ma now, and Sam's really our pa?" Clara knelt down to meet her son's eyes. "What do you think it means?" "I think it means we're a real family, like the ones in the stories." Henry's voice dropped. "I never thought we'd have that. A real family." Clara pulled him close, feeling Sam's hand come to rest on her shoulder. "We've always been a real family, Henry. We just had to find the rest of it." That night, Clara gathered all 5 children in the main room for an announcement. "The papers are signed," she told them. "Your father Robert has given up his rights. That means Sam is your legal father now, if you want him to be. We want him." The words came from Grace, strong and sure. "We already decided, remember." "I know, but I wanted to make sure. This is permanent. Once we file these papers, Sam adopts you officially. You'll be Beckett's, not Whitmore's." "Good." Henry's chin jutted out. "I don't want to be a Whitmore anymore. Whitmore's run away. Beckett's stay." Sam made a choked sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. "That's right, son. Beckett's stay." William tugged at Sam's sleeve. "Does this mean I can call you Papa now for real?" Sam knelt down and gathered the boy into his arms. "You can call me whatever you want, William, but I'd be honored if you called me Papa." "Papa." William tested the word, then grinned. "I like it. Papa. Papa, Papa." The twins giggled. Even Grace smiled. "What about you, Miss Grace?" Sam looked at his eldest stepdaughter. "What are you going to call me?" Grace considered the question with her usual seriousness. "I'll call you Pa." she said finally. Papa sounds too young. Pa sounds right. Pa it is. Clara watched her family, this patchwork of broken pieces that had somehow become whole. Sam, with William on his hip. Henry standing tall beside them. The twins holding hands. Grace, with that rare smile softening her face. This is what happiness looks like, Clara thought. This is what I almost lost. Spring came slowly to Montana that year. The snow melted in fits and starts, revealing patches of brown earth that gradually turned green. The creek behind the house swelled with runoff. The horses grew restless in their stalls, eager to run. Clara grew restless too, but for a different reason. She'd been feeling strange for weeks. Tired in a way sleep couldn't fix. Sick in the mornings. Hungry at odd hours for foods she'd never craved before. She knew what it meant. She'd felt this way 5 times before, but she couldn't quite believe it. Couldn't quite accept that after everything, after all the loss and fear and struggle, something so miraculous could be happening. Rosa noticed first. You're eating for 2, the older woman said one morning, watching Clara devour a second helping of eggs. Don't think I can't tell. Clara's face heated. I haven't told Sam yet. Why not? I'm scared. The admission came out before Clara could stop it. What if something goes wrong? What if I lose it? What if the sky falls and the rivers run backward? Rosa's voice was gentle but firm. You can't live your life afraid of what might happen, Clara. You've got to grab the good things when they come. Is this a good thing? Another child when we already have 5? A child is always a good thing, and that man of yours is going to be over the moon. Rosa smiled. Tell him, tonight. Trust me. Clara told him that evening after the children were in bed. They sat on the porch watching the stars emerge one by one, the spring air soft and cool around them. Sam, I need to tell you something. That sounds serious. It is. Clara took a deep breath. I'm pregnant. Sam went very still. You're what? Pregnant. With a baby. Your baby. Clara's voice shook. I know it's soon, and we already have 5 children, and everything's been so chaotic, but she didn't get to finish. Sam pulled her into his arms and kissed her with a desperation that stole her breath. A baby, he murmured against her lips. Our baby. You're happy. Happy. Sam pulled back, and Clara saw tears streaming down his weathered face. Clara, I never dreamed after Annabelle. I thought that part of my life was over. I thought I'd never have children of my own. You have 5 children now, and I love them like they're mine. But this... His hand came to rest on her stomach so gentle it made her want to cry. This is a miracle. You're giving me a miracle. We made it together. Sam laughed through his tears. I suppose we did. He kissed her again, softer this time. When? Early fall, I think. September, maybe October. That gives us time to prepare. We'll need to add on to the house, make room. Sam. Clara put her hand over his mouth. We have months. Right now, just be happy with me. Can you do that? He smiled against her palm. I can do that. They told the children the next morning. The reactions ranged from excitement, the twins, to concerned Grace, to utter confusion. William, who didn't understand where babies came from, and wasn't satisfied with any of the explanations offered. Henry took it best. I'm going to teach the baby to ride, he announced. Soon as it's old enough, I'll be the best big brother ever. You already are, Clara told him. Grace pulled her mother aside later that day. Are you scared? A little. Having a baby is always scary. But you're happy. Very happy. Grace nodded slowly. Good. You deserve to be happy, Mama. After everything that happened. She paused. I'm sorry I blamed you. When Papa left, I said it was your fault and it wasn't. I know that now. Clara's throat tightened. You were scared and hurt. We all say things we don't mean when we're scared. But I said them to you, and you were going through the same thing, but you had to be strong for all of us. Grace's eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry, Mama. I'm so sorry. Clara pulled her daughter into her arms. I forgave you a long time ago, Grace. I forgave you the moment you said it. How? Because that's what mothers do. We forgive. We love. We hold on even when it hurts. Clara stroked her daughter's hair. And because I knew it wasn't really me you were angry at. It was him. It was the situation. It was everything falling apart. Grace cried against her mother's shoulder, releasing months of guilt and grief. I love you, Mama. I love you too, baby girl. Always have, always will. The summer passed in a haze of heat and happiness. Clara's belly grew round and full. The children fought over who would get to name the baby, who would hold it first, who would teach it to walk. Sam hovered constantly, checking on Clara a dozen times a day until she threatened to lock him out of the house. I'm pregnant, not dying, she told him. Women have been having babies since the beginning of time. I'll be fine. I know. Sam's voice cracked. I can't lose you, Clara. I can't. Clara took his face in her hands. You won't. I promise. You can't promise that. I can promise to fight. I can promise to be careful. I can promise that I want to live more than anything because I finally have something worth living for. She kissed him softly. Trust me, Sam. Trust us. He didn't stop hovering, but he did stop apologizing for it. September arrived cool and golden. Clara woke one morning to a sensation she recognized instantly. Pressure, pain, the unmistakable feeling of a baby ready to be born. Sam, she shook his shoulder. Sam, wake up. It's time. The next several hours were a blur. Rosa took charge, ordering everyone around with the efficiency of a general commanding troops. Jed rode to town for the doctor. Sam paced outside the bedroom door, wearing a groove in the wooden floor. The children waited in the main room, their faces pale with worry. Is Mama gonna be okay? William asked for the 100th time. She's gonna be fine, Grace told him, even though her own hands were shaking. Mama's the strongest person I know. Stronger than Pa? Way stronger. Inside the bedroom, Clara gripped Rosa's hand and pushed through the pain. It was harder this time, harder than any of her previous births. She was older now, more tired, her body worn from years of struggle. But she was also stronger. Stronger in the ways that mattered. One more push, Rosa urged. Come on, Clara. One more. Clara screamed and pushed with everything she had. And then suddenly there was crying. Not hers. Someone else's. Someone new. It's a girl, Rosa breathed. Clara, it's a beautiful baby girl. Clara fell back against the pillows, exhausted and elated and overwhelmed. Let me see her. Let me see my daughter. Rosa placed the baby in Clara's arms, and the world stopped. She was perfect. Tiny and wrinkled and red-faced from crying, but perfect. She had Sam's gray eyes and Clara's stubborn chin and a full head of dark hair. Hello, little one, Clara whispered. Welcome to the family. Sam burst through the door, his face wild with fear. Is everything... Come meet your daughter. Sam crossed to the bed and looked down at the baby in Clara's arms. His expression crumpled. Oh God, he breathed. Oh God, she's beautiful. She's ours. She's ours. Sam's voice broke. Clara, she's ours. He kissed Clara's forehead, then the baby's, then Clara's lips. Tears streamed down his face, and he didn't bother to hide them. What are we going to call her? Clara had thought about this for months, had considered dozens of names and rejected them all. But now, holding her daughter, the answer seemed obvious. Hope, she said. We're going to call her Hope. Sam smiled through his tears. Hope Beckett, it's perfect. She's perfect. She gets that from you. The children came in one by one to meet their new sister. Henry was reverent, touching her tiny fingers with gentle wonder. The twins cooed and giggled. William was disappointed that she couldn't play with him yet, but promised to wait patiently until she was bigger. Grace was last. She stood by the bed looking down at Hope with an expression Clara couldn't read. "She's so small." "You were that small once." "I don't remember." "No one does, but I remember." Clara smiled. "I remember holding you for the first time and thinking I'd never seen anything so perfect." Grace reached out and touched Hope's hand. The baby's fingers curled around her sister's, holding on tight. "She likes me." "Of course she does. You're her big sister." Grace was quiet for a moment. Then she looked up at Clara with tears in her eyes. "Thank you, Mama." "For what?" "For not giving up. When Papa left, when everything fell apart, you could have given up. But you didn't. You kept fighting. You kept us alive." Grace's voice shook. "And because you didn't give up, we got Sam. We got this home. We got Hope. We got everything." Clara pulled her eldest daughter close, careful not to jostle the baby. "I couldn't give up," she whispered. "I had you. All of you. You were my reason to keep going. And now we have her." Grace looked at Hope. "Another reason. The best reason." That first year with Hope was chaos and joy and exhaustion and love. Clara had forgotten how demanding newborns were, how little sleep came, how every moment seemed consumed by the needs of one tiny person. But she'd also forgotten how sweet it was to hold a baby in the dark hours of the night, to feel that small warm weight against her chest, to know that she'd helped create this perfect new life. Sam was a devoted father. He woke for nighttime feedings, changed diapers without complaint, and spent hours walking Hope around the house when she was fussy. The other children adored their baby sister, competing for chances to hold her, feed her, make her laugh. And slowly, day by day, the family settled into a new normal. Henry grew tall and capable, working alongside Sam as a true partner in the ranch. Grace discovered a passion for teaching and began tutoring the younger children in reading and arithmetic. The twins developed a talent for healing, helping Rosa with her herb garden and learning the old remedies. William lost his shyness and became the family's entertainer, always ready with a joke or a story. And Hope. Hope grew and thrived, hitting every milestone with the determination of a baby who knew she was loved. 1 year to the day after Hope's birth, Clara stood on the porch of Broken Arrow and watched her family. Sam and Henry were in the corral working with a new horse. Grace sat under a tree with a book reading aloud to the twins. William chased chickens around the yard, his laughter ringing through the air. Rosa held Hope on her hip, pointing out birds and clouds and teaching her the names of things. This is my life now, Clara thought. This is what we built from nothing. Sam looked up and caught her eye. He smiled, that warm, genuine smile that still made her heart skip after all this time. She smiled back. "Mama." William came running up out of breath and covered in feathers. "Mama, guess what?" "What, baby?" "I caught a chicken all by myself." "That's wonderful, sweetheart." "Can we keep it? Can it be my chicken?" Clara laughed. "I think it's already your chicken, but you have to take care of it. Feed it, give it water, keep it safe." "I will. I promise." William ran off to show his prize to Henry. Sam came up onto the porch wiping sweat from his brow. What's got him so excited? He caught a chicken. Good for him. Sam pulled Clara into his arms. Good day. The best. Any regrets? Clara considered the question. The honest answer. Not a single one. Even the hard parts. The fear, the uncertainty, all of it. Especially the hard parts. Clara looked up at her husband. The hard parts led me to you. The hard parts made us who we are. I wouldn't change a thing. Sam kissed her softly. I love you, Clara Beckett. I love you too, Sam Beckett. Hope chose that moment to let out a wail demanding attention, with all the force of a tiny dictator. I'll get her. Sam released Clara and headed toward Rosa. Hey there, little Hope. What's all this fuss about? Clara watched him scoop their daughter into his arms, watched Hope's cries turn to giggles as Sam made silly faces. Her husband, her daughter, her family. She thought about the woman she'd been a year ago kneeling in the snow by empty traps, convinced she was going to die. She thought about the fear, the desperation, the absolute certainty that her story was ending. She'd been wrong. Her story wasn't ending. It was just beginning. Grace appeared at her elbow. "You're crying, Mama." Happy tears. "Is there such a thing?" "There is now." Grace leaned against her mother's shoulder, and they stood together watching their family. "Mama." "Yes." "Do you believe in second chances?" Clara thought about the question, the journey that had brought her here, the impossible luck of being found by Sam Beckett, of being given the opportunity to rebuild. "I believe in the people who give them," she said finally, "and I believe in the people brave enough to take them." So it wasn't luck finding Sam. Maybe it was luck, or maybe it was fate, or maybe it was just two broken people finding each other at exactly the right moment. Clara smiled. "Does it matter?" Grace considered this. "No," she said. "I guess it doesn't." The sun began its descent toward the mountains, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. The family gathered on the porch for the evening meal, crowding around the big table that Sam had built to accommodate all of them. Clara looked at each face around that table. Sam at the head carving the roast. Henry talking animatedly about the new horse. Grace helping the twins with their napkins. William sneaking scraps to the dog under the table. Rosa bouncing Hope on her knee. This was what she'd almost lost. This was what she'd fought for, prayed for, nearly died for. And it was worth every moment of pain. "Clara." Sam's voice cut through her thoughts. "You all right? More than all right. What are you thinking about?" Clara smiled, feeling the truth of it settle into her bones. "I'm thinking about how a year ago I had nothing. No home, no hope, no future. I was alone in the snow, convinced my children were going to die." She reached for Sam's hand across the table. "And now look at us. A home. A family. A life I never dreamed was possible." "You built it," Sam said. "You kept those children alive when anyone else would have given up. You made this possible." "We made it together." Sam squeezed her hand. "Together." Hope let out a happy squeal and the table erupted in laughter. Clara looked around at her family, this impossible, beautiful, hard-won family, and felt her heart overflow. She'd been abandoned in the snow with nothing but 5 hungry children and a coward's goodbye. A cowboy had found her and said 3 words that changed everything. "Let me help." And together, they'd built something stronger than fear, stronger than doubt, stronger than all the broken promises of Clara's past. They'd built a home. Clara Beckett held her husband's hand, surrounded by her children's laughter, and knew with absolute certainty that she was exactly where she was meant to be. Not because fate had brought her here, but because she had chosen it, fought for it, refused to give up until she found it. This was her happy ending. No, not an ending. A beginning. The best kind of beginning, the kind that comes after you've survived the worst and discovered that you're stronger than you ever knew. Clara smiled at her husband, at her children, at the life they'd created from nothing but hope and determination, and she knew without a shadow of doubt that the best was yet to come.